إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم والصلاة والسلام على آله وعلى صحبه أجمعين أما بعد آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. صدق الله العظيم. Indeed, the praise is for Allah, and therefore we praise Him. We seek His aid and assistance exclusively. We seek forgiveness from Allah, and we seek refuge with Allah from the evil which emanates from within and the harm thereof. I give open testimony that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah, highly glorified is He. He has no part in His dominion of His creation. I give further testimony that Muhammad, to whom the Quran was revealed, is His servant and messenger. Peace and prayers be on him. Peace and prayers be extended to his family, his companions, and all those who follow him. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. O you who believe, have taqwa for Allah, as it is His right to receive taqwa, and die not the truth. Assalamu alaikum. We are grateful for the opportunity and for all those like it throughout the world, where believers have come together in obedience. Believers have come together in gratitude. Believers have come together seeking to demonstrate the commitment that we all take when we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, right? That there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is His messenger. And that commits us to a life of manifestation, a life of proving ourselves. It commits us to a constant process. But as we do this, we understand, right? We understand it is a gift, and that there's not one of us in here, right? There are very few, but there are very few of us. Well, I would say none of us in here who could say that I am Muslim of my own heart and accepted Islam. I came to the realization on my own, and I am Muslim because of me. No, we all understand that it is Allah who makes Muslims. It is Allah who opens hearts. It is Allah who opens ears and allows us to be receptive to that guidance. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for opening our hearts, for allowing us to respond to the call to prayer, the call to obedience, the call to assembly. So that is the first thing. So we recognize, number one, that we are not independent from Allah, right? There's nothing that we do, right? There's no aspiration. There's nothing that we achieve. There's nothing that we work at, and we find our way to some representation, some modicum of success, where we can just look at and say, this was all because of me. Very important at this particular time, as we find ourselves just days away from Independence Day, right? National Independence Day, July 4th, people will be celebrating enjoying and really celebrating the myth, celebrating how we stand on our own feet. We have broken away from the Tyrannical 76, where the nation's forefathers, they said, enough is enough. We're not paying the taxes. We will not be ruled by a foreign empire, foreign land. What we earn, what we make is for ourselves. Well, that's a beautiful myth, right? Because we understand that independence, true independence, must be attached to our dependence. We are here purposefully, but Allah has embedded you and I as individuals, but He has also given us a collective mandate, a collective responsibility that is given to the believers. Right? So that means that we are never independent of Allah. right? So this is the very important thing. So I want to look at a very short surah, just a few ayahs, matter of fact. When we think about Surah Al-Kafirun, right? It says, "Oh, you who reject faith." Like this idea, this word is thrown around kafir all the time. But when we think about what we are hearing in this particular surah, it is giving us an outline. It is giving us a way to see the world and a way to see ourselves, and to quantify belief and to quantify rejection. Right? Very important. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُّمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. Say, oh, you reject faith. Right? Right? You don't believe. You don't believe what I believe. I don't believe what you believe. Right? And you are not likely to, you are not disposed to believe what I believe. So the culmination of this argument is to you be your way and to be mine. But the word that we're using in here is deen, right? Lakum dinukum waliya din. To you be your whatever your system, your method of thinking in terms of your way of life, right? And we go back to deen, going back to dana, which means we get this word debt, right? So however you have structured your life, who you think you owe, where your allegiances lie, that's on you. I'm not here to convince you, and I will not be convinced by you. But understanding that the mark of those who reject faith, those who cover up the truth, it is going to be a separation. It will be an attempt to separate what Allah has ordered to be joined. So Allah has created this creation in oneness, right? He's created the human family in oneness, right? يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. O mankind, have taqwa for your guardian Lord, for your Rabb, right, who has created you from a single soul. From a single soul, emphasizing this singularity, emphasizing this connectedness. Right? That there's not a way for us to rationalize that somehow I'm okay with separating myself from humanity. What I would call, right, once again, we go back to the idea, I would say the myth of independence, while still practicing oppression, while still holding slaves, while still killing, while still taking the lands of the indigenous, of the people who are here, while committing all types of atrocities, but doing it under the guise of somehow being an elevated and a rational, logical, independent people. Independent of what? Independent of accountability, independent of a connection and a responsibility to Allah, independent of the one who created it. So that's a very precarious position to be in. It's a dangerous position to be in, because once the human being is disconnected from Allah, then that is a human being that is capable of doing anything and justifying anything. So there are three things that I want to mention, kind of go between during this brief khutbah, and that is the importance of our perception, the importance of our narratives, because the narratives that we live with, these are the things that we begin to depend upon, that shape our lives, that shape our interactions. So there are three narratives that we must be free of, that we cannot depend on, right? Three narratives. And one is when you hold the false narrative of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, all right? And the second is holding a false narrative, a false perception of yourself. And the third is holding a false narrative or a false perception of others. So we begin with the false narrative, holding the false narrative of Allah. Because what does Allah tell us in the Quran? We understand that false worship is the greatest form of oppression. False worship, it is the greatest oppression, because that Because once you hold that determines worldview. It determines perception. It determines how we interact with one another. It determines how we see ourselves. Right. So false worship, it is the worst of the worst in terms of oppression. Right. So we don't understand that to be about rituals. We understand that to be about what is produced from the knowledge that is held within those rituals. We understand that to be what is the outcome of the adherence to whatever their form of faith is, whatever that faith tradition. But us as Muslims, we understand the liberating power of understanding the oneness, right? The complete oneness and the uniqueness of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, so that frees us. So I began, I guess when you're on the job, so most everybody knows, I shouldn't say everybody knows, because I probably, somebody asked me if I was Jamaican. It's like, how many jobs do you have you had? But I've been that should be a sign of a respect for our Jamaican brothers and sisters, being hardworking and, industrious. But I've been a journeyman ironworker for the past 16 years, and on the job, this is manual labor. It's like putting big puzzles together, right? Big steel puzzles together. And as you're working, you're passing time, and you have conversation, and people understand. They know that I'm Muslim, and quite often I get people's theological questions, their musings, and one brother asked me. He says, "Why do you think?" First of all, he's making an assumption. He says, "Why do you think that that the devil is winning right now?" I said, "What?" He said, "Why do you think the devil is winning right now in the world with all that's going on? Why do you think the devil is winning?" I said, "Well, there's only one of us in this conversation that believes that. First. Second, the devil is not winning. Right? The devil is not winning. As Muslims, we understand what? Right? When Allah speaks of himself, when he describes himself, right? It says Allah, he is right? He is the first, he is the last, he is the hidden, he is the evident. Right? Meaning that Allah precedes the whatever has been caused, whatever has been brought into being, whatever we're able to see and perceive. Allah was there before that. And the moment, the place where we do, and Allah will be there when those things have come to pass, when those things are no longer perceivable or perceptible. Right? That Allah, in those moments where our eyes have been pulled towards the difficulty and the trial, have been pulled towards those who have rejected their connection, rejected their responsibility, their accountability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have separated themselves from the rest of creation. And that's all we see. Allah is still there. Right? Allah is still there. And Allah is there when the believers, when those who have taken their responsibility, who've taken the mandate that Allah has given each of us, individually and collectively, and they have embraced that, and you start feeling good, we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. Right? It's evident in that moment. Yeah. Allah's hands must be on this group, must be on this effort. So I tell them, the illusion, you must understand the illusion, be able to separate the illusion from the reality. And we understand that Allah is the sure reality, that Allah is never absent, right? Indeed, the believers are victorious. Now, since we began with a very short story, we'll go back to another, right? When we think about the believers, and as I express and to prove our faith once again, because we are constantly in a position where we are proving ourselves, not to Allah, proving ourselves to ourselves, right? Because we heard ourselves take Shahada. we heard ourselves tell other people we're Muslims. We see ourselves when we cover ourselves modestly, whether we wearing a kufi or hijab or not, right? But we see ourselves when we conduct ourselves looking to give off modesty. We see ourselves, we hear ourselves. So we are constantly proving ourselves to ourselves, right? Am I who I say I am? So that never stops. That never stops. There is this understanding that
Excuse us, everyone. Please bear with us a minute. We're having some technical difficulties. 1 second, please. Okay. We're having some challenges. It's very choppy, the video and the audio. I accidentally muted you, but you're back unmuted. Thank you. But,
apologies.
very choppy though. The audio, the video is.
Can you all hear us?
Now we can, yes. But it's coming through sporadically. It'll be clear for a while, and then it'll become very choppy again and freeze up. The video.
Okay. It's probably the rain. All right.
The system is saying that Rabbani's iPhone has got very low bandwidth. I think that might be the problem.
Okay, we'll just have to power through it. We apologize for the difficulty.
Thank you. Okay.
So this mutuality, this mutual success assured to the believers, right? That is not just about a profession of faith, but it's about a commitment to action, right? It is about a commitment to truth. And this is why, as Muslims, right, we're still dealing with the very first misconception or false narrative, which is the false narrative of Allah, the false narratives that we can hold of Allah, believing that Allah is absent, believing that the illusions of victory from those who cover up faith, those who reject faith, that somehow that is reality. Right? We're still dealing with that. But Allah tells us those who join together in the mutual teaching of truth, of patience, of constancy, right? These are those who are spared from the ravages of time. They are spared from the ravages of time that come with being a people who are disconnected from Allah. And that is why I say that as Muslims, we are and I'm hesitant to ever toot our own horn, so to speak. But this is why I believe as Muslims, we are the strongest and the best asset that our nation has for it to achieve its purpose, right? And the purpose is separated from the myth. We understand the myth of its creation, but we understand the beauty of the stated purpose. And we are people who have committed themselves to constantly proving ourselves to ourselves, right? We are committed to proving ourselves to ourselves. And the second thing we looked at is the false narratives that are around how we see ourselves. How we see ourselves. In that moment of singularity, a single creation, right? Oh mankind, have reverence, have taqwa for your Lord, who has created you from a single soul. We go back again to this very important term, right? To remind us once again, not just as in the Lord, right? Not just as in the Lord cherish, not just as in the master, right? But as the evolver, right? The evolver, the only force, the creator, the one who is able to take land which has looked to be infertile, which looked to be useless, right? And then bring fresh produce out of it, to bring the necessary rain, to bring the minerals, to have the shifting, the seasons and all these different things that happen over time, and turn what was once infertile into fertile and valuable soil. Right? The same thing that Allah does with the soil, He does with the soul. He does with the individual. And you know, this beautiful definition that we have been given and expounded upon, the idea of the Rabb being the one who evolves, who gradually increases and elevates an individual, right, from its immature state, or anything from its immature state to its mature state, into maturity. And this is extremely important for us to understand in a time where we are being defined. We are being defined by sound bites. We're being defined by social media posts. We are being defined by the mistakes that people who know us at a particular point in time, right? The things that we know where we have fallen short, and we define ourselves by that particular moment, not realizing that that's just a point in our evolution. That is a point in our elevation. That is a point for us to look back, a stepping stone, if you will, right? To look at where we faltered and stand on it, right? And continue our ascending. So Allah is our Rabb. He gives us the time, right? He gifts us with time, right? And we all don't have the same amount of time. And we don't all mature at the same rate. But because of our connection, because of our dependence on Allah, we understand that however we fall short, as long as we continue to exert, to move and engage in that act of proving, right? The act of looking to become better and better. And as we do that, it's impossible for those around us not to see that. So we find that Allah has given us, that He has given us a doorway to being patient and merciful to ourselves, right? That we are not stagnant individuals, that we are constantly in a state of growth, and this really goes right into other people. We are connected. We also understand that the mercy that we show ourselves is also the mercy that we should be willing to show others. If our Islam is a gift, and our beloved messenger, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will send as a mercy to mankind, then we should be constantly thinking about that as we interact with others who may be who are on varying levels, varying tracks of their own development, right? We should be thinking, I mean, nobody wants to be smacked upside the head with a gift, right? If you got a gift and you're throwing it in people's faces, or your gift is causing somebody pain, then you're not using that gift in the right way, right? Just as our messenger was sent as a mercy, we too should be thinking of Allah's mercy. We should be thinking of Allah's mercy to us and allowing us to be open and to respond, right? We should be thinking about how we interact with others and understanding that we are in a constant state of growth, Now, independence, it is often, today, independence, it is attached to freedom, right? But what we understand is that true freedom, it is in our dependence on Allah. That is our true freedom. But you know how it is when you're young, when you don't really understand how freedom works. You don't understand how independence really works. You hear young people, your children sometimes, I can't wait till I'm grown, because I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. Once I'm grown, I'm And it's usually doing stuff that is probably no good for you anyway. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna eat nothing but ice cream. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna stay out all night. I'm gonna eat whatever I want. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm not accountable to anybody. And that's really nobody. You don't hear yourself saying it. I'm not accountable to anybody, not even myself. Right? My body might want to be home in the bed, but I'm going to make it go out and stay out all hours of the night. My body is craving fruits and vegetables, but I'm going to have my Rocky Road ice cream first thing in the morning. All right, I'm going to do everything that I can to exert control over myself, to show others who try to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. You can't tell me nothing. I'm going to do everything I want to do. I read a very interesting observation. It said that most slaves don't want to be free. They just want to hold the whip. Say it again if you didn't hear it. Most slaves don't want to be free. They just want to hold the whip. Right? It's not really about freedom or independence in the sense of the purpose that Allah has given you and I. Right? A purpose, those who believe, those who work, those who join together, who are bound by this mutual reciprocal relationship, right? Of promoting truth, of standing against injustice, right? Of making sure that there is equity, that there is fairness, right? Those who avoid, vain talk, all these things, all the parameters of freedom and independence as Muslims, as believers, these are not the same parameters of freedom and independence for the world. These are not the same parameters of freedom and independence, because the freedom and independence that we have been given to believe and understand as freedom is really slavery. It's slavery to the lowest desires that could come out of us. It is slavery to that evil that emanates from within and the various ways that it harms us. Whatever I want to do, I'm going to do. I want to be free. This is our nation, our founding fathers talk. We want to be free of taxation over here, but we also want to be independent to be to hold that those who are from the African continent are 3/5 of a human being. We want to have our rights to property. We want to have our rights to our labor, and we also want the rights to hold people as property and the rights to their labor. We want to have the rights, right? And we're going to invoke God-given and inalienable rights while we hold those from other people. While we have separated ourselves, we are not that nafs al-wahida. We're not from that one soul. We are a different creation. We're all by ourselves, and we will justify everything that we do based on our freedom, based on our independence to do so, to inflict harm. I'm free to do so. That's not freedom. This is being living fuel for the fire. Living fuel for the fire. But as Muslims, we should really be happy. We should be happy because we are living embodiments of those who are looking to do what? To bring about the realization of this nation's stated highest intentions. Right? Freedom and justice, the things that people put on their bumper stickers. Run around with the flags, but are silent, are absent when it comes to standing up for those who are oppressed. Right? They're fine with segregated communities. They're fine with perpetual poverty and crime in somebody else's neighborhood. That is a product. It is a product of that independent action that is divorced, that is separated from accountability, separated from connection to Allah. So we should be happy because we represent the believers, right? The Muslims and all those who have the same type of mindset. We represent the hope of this nation. Because we are going to prove that we are who we say we are. We're going to prove that we are not deluded. We are not fooled by the illusions of the victories of those who want to cover up truth. We're not fooled by that. We're not fooled into thinking that we are stagnant. We're not fooled into thinking that we don't have the capacity to be down one day and you come back and see me a year later and I've moved up. And we're not dependent. We're not dependent upon popular on approval. Right? It's wonderful to be liked. Right, but even a cursory glimpse, and I don't even have to say Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We can look at the prophetic model period. The resistance that each of the prophets that they faced, the animosity that they faced. Right, I'm guilty. I was probably naive at some point. I was like, man, who don't like me? Everybody likes me. No, that's not true. A lot of folks who don't like me, I had to be fine with that, right? You know, it's funny the things that Allah opens your eyes to, but it's not about us liking people. It's about us doing the right thing even when we don't like people. It's about us understanding our mutual responsibility. About us understanding that our success is tied up into us being people of principle over being people of personality. Right? Because I was able to find out once I was elected as a resident imam of Masjid Al-Taqwa, I found out who didn't like me. Right? And I'm sure there's other people who don't like me that, you know, they may never say it. Right? But it's not about liking. Right? I stress it is not about liking people. It is about understanding. As believers, when we say we are believers, we are saying we are committed to a reciprocal relationship. We are saying that we are committed to living out and proving over and over again that we are committed to bringing into existence the highest principles, the highest and the most beautiful and elevating principles that give dignity to us as individuals, but give dignity to our brothers and our sisters, that give dignity to all of creation, to being the mercy that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he was to society. That is the responsibility that we have. It has nothing to do with life. I'm going to close this portion of the khutbah because I know we are moving on. One of my brothers told me, I heard him say it. Actually, I heard him say it. I'm not going to miss his name, but he said, Islam don't care what you think or how you feel. Islam is, this religion is not about our feelings. It is about us discharging a responsibility. And we don't want to tread on one another. We want to be merciful to each other. We want to be gentle, right? But we want to be strong and firm. We want to be committed to those principles, right? Committed to the mission that Allah has given us. So may Allah make it easy for us to do so. May Allah continue to reinforce the true perception of Allah. May Allah continue to enforce the true perception of ourselves and of others. And may Allah never let us lose sight of our oneness and that we are tied to one another for better or for worse. But may Allah bring about that which is best from us. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah. The praise is for Allah, and then the praise is for Allah. I want to conclude this khutbah with a brief observation, just a few brief comments. I mentioned that, and I'm sure your experiences may also mirror my own. I have brothers that have come up to me on the job, and they want to engage in theological debates and stuff like that. And one of them said something to me yesterday, and it was about not believing in the hereafter. And there's two of them talking. He says, well, Tariq, what do you think about that? Say, that's what he thinks. And they go, see, you can't get a rise out of him. You can't get a rise up. He said, I've talked to him many times, and his response is always the same. So I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to convince you. I pray Allah opens up your heart. But the job that I have been sent here for, right? The community, our job as people, not just as individuals, is not to go around trying to convince people, and it's not to condemn anybody. That's not my job, right? So I want to just remind us that us being who we are, it is its own testament. It is its own statement, and we are in a society where people enjoy arguing, and they will argue just for the sake of arguing, right? There's nothing achieved. There's nothing that has actually been improved. We are people who are here to prove. We are people who are here to build. We're people who are here to actually change, right? To bring about the change. The law has ordered us to be agents of change and to bring into fruition, right? So all of the little small talk, all the little arguments and stuff that people want to have, they can have those by themselves, right? We're not here to be distracted by that. And may Allah keep us focused on our goal, keep us focused on our mission. May Allah keep us people who are patient, people who are merciful, and most of all, people who are strong in our conviction and are unmoved by the illusions of this world. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب.